Welcome to another Netrunner deck discussion stream. Um, we're doing it low tech today. If William can get away with it, so can I. Um, yeah. So today we're discussing the two decks I have. Oh, the mic is muted. Hold up. Is the mic still muted? I gotta check. It says it's recording the mic. Can you hear me? Are you trolling me, Yaxu? Okay. Was it muted from the start or it stopped being muted now? I assume it maybe it was I know. So it was on your end, I guess. Okay, never mind. Um yeah, we're looking at some decks. Um I played the EMEA Continentals and I always like to just talk about the decks rather than doing a big write-up because I think you get more thoughts out that way, basically. Um, so I guess let's start with this one that came about. I think the week or so before the actual event. As I wasn't sure what corp to play. I was not feeling the options. Oh, and by the way, to the audience, like, please hit me with questions because I think questions are only going to make this more interesting and give me like more stuff to talk about. But anyway, um, okay, that's a good question, Axel. How sorry do you feel from playing 3x Afshar? Um, I will get to that once I talk a little bit about the deck, I guess. So the this sort of came from me wanting. I was trying different obelists. I think I tried Tuno's obelists as well. A Man in the Moon had this interesting one with Maze Amusement Turek. For those who don't know, like if Lamplighter is on a server, an agenda gets stolen and your ob, you haven't used your ob trigger, you can get Amaze Amusements and give them 2 tags, even though it wasn't there when they stole the agenda. Um, the thing you have to make sure though is that the server still exists. So for centrals, they will always still exist. For the remote, you got to make sure that you have another ice there or an upgrade that stays alive in the server, or Amaze Amusements is technically not on the same server that the agenda was stolen from. Um, this was a cool concept, and it had hearts and minds to like you put an advancement counter somewhere on an ice with wall to wall. You can tutor out hearts and minds with Cyber Sun Harvester, for example. Um, or I guess mainly that, and then that can give you 2 advancements, and you can score a Basalt Spire. So um, I tried this a little bit, and I wanted to make it. First of all, I felt like Big Deal was too expensive, but I also really wanted to put Trank in a list with Cybersand Harvester, Tranquility Grid, because I feel like, well, then you can like install the harvesters there, get the value, pop something and install it on the Trank on on their turn, and then like trash it with an excavator and do all kinds of things like that. And it will just give you more money so that you can do your other stuff. Um, so the core of the assets is the same, except I cut the humanoid resources, and it's way less operation dependent. So there's no hedge funds, no extract, and I got an antil or 3 antils in there. Um, so the antils, that was kind of a result from choosing to go for Hollow Man in kind of instead of Big Deal and instead of Hearts and Minds, because with the Hollow Man you can basically um, you can never advance from nowhere as long as you have a 3 coster that you can trash, which is also why there's a lot of 3 cost ice. You can just trash this, Hollow Man, score the Basalt Spire right away, and it's kind of amazing. But of course, this can also fast advance your 3/2s. Um, So now there's Hollow Man, and I had the influence to put in another Oppo research because I felt like if I, first of all, there's a lot of runners playing cards that tag themselves right now, like a lot of the Anarchs do that. So I wanted to be able to punish that, and I wanted to be able to do it consistently. So I went to 3 end of the line rather than 2. Um, and I put in another Oppo to make it so like the tagging is more consistent in the deck. It's not like a side thing, it's more of like a main plan. You can often play this, get it back if they steal Basalt Spire or score the Basalt Spire, and basically as long as you draw on one of these, you always have access to it when you need it. So all you need is enough money. So a lot of this is about making enough money, trashing stuff. So this became like a more tag focused asset deck with Amaze Amusement um, that went for both end of the line and measured response. Now I'm not sure that this should actually be on 3 of these, but they do put in work in a few of the games. Like sometimes if the tag threat is sort of uh, dead in the water, then the measured response threat is sometimes live. The only problem is, of course, like then you have like a lot of um, operations that you're not using or that doesn't accelerate your game plan in the early game. However, there is sometimes there's synergy between these where you can, for example, play a measured response and they have, let's say they're in a situation where they have to pay, um, and then you can play Oppo research afterwards. So if you force them to like pay for this, the Oppo becomes more effective, and then you might kill them with that, and so on. So there's some synergy in there, uh, but at times it's a bit too much operations. So the general idea of the deck is like have too much tempo and tags and money, so that you can score a Basalt Spire pretty quickly, and then from there you threaten to score more agendas to force them to get oppoed or measured response. It was really fun, really cool, and now I can finally answer Axu's question and say that so triple offshore is actually it might be wrong, like maybe one of these should be another ice, but I didn't really regret it much because I find that I always want to have one Afshar at least on HQ, but also if you draw multiple, I would say it's even better to have 2 on HQ. And once if they ever get rest, then you have something you can trash to get Hollow Man. And part of the pattern here is you try to get a Tranquility home grid as soon as you can, and then you try to have an Excavator. Sometimes you protect the Excavator. So the Excavator can, if you have a Harvester, you get 2 credits when you install it on the Trank. On their turn, you get 2 more credits when you put a wall-to-wall on the Trank. Then when it's your turn, the wall-to-wall draws you a card, and you can trash the Trank, and you can get another Excavator if you need to, so that it's going to be harder for them to like trash all your Excavators without going too low on money. So this way you can just like kind of tutor out all your Excavators using the Harvesters. Um, and yeah, like that's the general idea, to get money. And then once you feel like you've generated enough money and tempo, uh, you need a 3 coster to be able to Hollow Man score a Basalt Spire. Like if in a pinch you can just like put it there and normally advance it, but it's so much slower. So it's nice to have a lot of 3 costers, to the point where I um, actually kind of wanted to have a Mavericks in here. It synergizes with the Trank, and um, it's also, yeah, it's just a 3 coster that gets Hollow Man. But unfortunately, I just can't find a good cut here. I feel like all of the Spin Doctors are really useful. I really wanted the Trank. Then I really feel I need 2 Oppos, not just one, to make that consistent. And the Amaze Amusements, like if you don't have the Lamplighter, then that doesn't work. And the Hollow Man is so important. So like I really feel I can't afford to cut any of the influence. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the deck. There's also a lot of neat stuff where you can. Um, One of the neat things is a lot of the ice is really cheap. So if you have a Cyber Sand Harvester early and they ever face check stuff, it's usually good for you. And it makes it hard for them to be as aggressive early on, which I really like. Sometimes if you some decks will get like oppressed by the runner early on, whereas with this it's pretty hard for that to happen because um, you can punish in a lot of ways. Like if they ever just face check something and you have a Cyber Sand Harvester, you're gonna get the $2 from the rest of the ice. Uh, if they guess wrong on what you have, like they say, let's say they try to deny your anthill with a pinhole and it turns out to be a harvester or an excavator, then that's pretty bad for them. These are expensive to trash. Now, if they keep you off some kind of value asset for a long time, then the runner will win. So that is a bit of an issue. Another thing is like, since I am playing so much, like a lot of cheap eyes, it's taking up a lot of slots. So you might argue like maybe you don't want as many tithes or whatever. Um, yeah, so it might be that you could tighten this list up. I think there might be like a better version of this. Um, but overall, it felt like really fun to play, and yeah, like pretty. Um, I just thought it was a cool list that reminded me of the list that I won intercons with, or like this one is the one I got third at Euros with in 2022. Then the only difference between this and the one that I won intercons with is that there was an Afshar instead of the Enigma. So yeah, that was uh, really nice to I don't know, feel like I was playing something similar again. Where I was playing Ob and could tutor a bunch of stuff and could threaten a lot of kills. So I had a lot of fun playing this deck. Um, and yeah, also went to 8 agendas um, because well, I just felt like the deck needed to like dedicate like to gain some more slots. So I went down to like 1 SDS, even though it's not as useful as I guess slash and burn. Going down on agendas means like you're less likely to just lose on random accesses, I think. Um, yeah, and it gives you another slot to do something with. So that's that deck. And also about Afshar, like it's pretty good for I think it's just a pretty good ice. I know people were saying white space is good. I like that Afshar even if you're playing against the crew decks. Yeah, that's true. SDS is a nice one-off into Matryoshka, so that's like a good point for Maxu. But also the Afshar is like it's not 0 strength, which is a bit of a benefit in a meta where a lot of people are going to be playing crew. So if you play white space, they can just crew that. But with Afshar, they would need to already have their leech and charge it, or they need to take a tag. But since we're a deck that plays end of the line, we can punish them for taking tags, so they actually need to clear those. So it's a bit more of a tax. So yeah, so I don't really regret the Afshars. Maybe you don't have to play 3, but like, yeah. Again, you really like being able to tutor your Hollow Man. In fact, a lot of the games where you feel like things are going the best for you is where the runner tried to be aggressive early on. Um, and the ones where they sit back more and don't let the ice be rest, they kind of force you to have an antil to get the Hollow Man. And so that might feel more awkward actually. Um, yeah, there were also games like there was one against Augustus Caesar where there's just a lot of drip from companions and stuff, and a lot of ways to survive the tags. Um, where the remote is like not taxing enough if the game goes too long. So that's a risk. Um, your ice isn't all that taxing, but you have the amazing amusements for that they need to clear, and then there's the oppo follow up in some cases. So if you take too much time setting up or you draw too many agendas early on, that can be an issue with this deck. Um, Yeah. Another thing you need to watch out for is like if you res a lamplighter on the remote, it's gonna trash itself when you score. So that can kind of screw you over sometimes. Um, so yeah, like if you have the SC, if you often trash the lamplighter with it if you need to score. Um, but yeah, typically you want to try to protect the Hollow Man once you have it, or make it really expensive for them to trash. Fortunately, like if you do get the Basalt Spire scored, which is like the first goal, just like it was in Man in the Moon's list, um, and they like pinhole the Hollow Man or whatever, you can kind of always just like use the Basalt Spire to get the Hollow Man back, install it on the Trank, get $2. So they can't like keep you off the Hollow Man forever in that case. Getting a Basalt Spire scored like really does a lot. It also means like you basically able to back up any kill threat that you have. Like they need to clear their tags, they need to have enough money or cards to survive the measured responses. Um, yeah, typically if you, yeah, getting to 5 points is usually a really good position because then the measured responses are live as well. Once you get to three, it's like there might be this period where you can't measured response them, so you're only threatening tagging stuff, and then you kind of sometimes trying to just to get to threat four so that the measured responses are live. Um, but yeah, anyway, I think that's a pretty cool list. Before I move on to the next one, please give me any questions. I see there's one from Aksu. Also, did you feel ever that you would have rather had something over the third end of the line? Um, the thing about that is, I mean, it's a good question. Um, there are times where like you draw too many of the operations, but the thing is like you really need two end of the lines to back up your threats. So maybe you could say that, well, I'm always going to be able to score a Basalt Spire, and therefore, um, you're always going to be able to score a Basalt Spire, and therefore, like, two end of the line is enough because I can draw one, then play it, and so on. Uh, but I think that's maybe a bit too hopeful because, like, I don't know, like runners can gourmand your end of the lines. They can, you might not draw it early enough if you only have two, is another problem. If let's say you go for the Basalt Spire score, but they steal the Basalt Spire and then you manage to put them a bunch of tags on them, you want to have access to all of those end of the lines. So I'm not sure, but like that was the reasoning for going three. I don't really regret it. I'm more, um, yeah, like maybe if you play this a lot, you'll figure out that like three is too much. We don't need it. Maybe you could do something like two end of the line, two measured response, and a pivot or something, and save one deck slot. I'm not sure. Again, I kind of would like to play one more extract. This was actually like a last minute include, um, because I I was actually playing Angelique before this, uh, because Angelique was another zero coster that you could put on the Trank and just get money. And sometimes you could like actually get kills that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get with her. Um, but like I did a last minute cut of her because I just felt like no, that's actually just a cute include. That doesn't matter that much most of the time. Like if they're trying to play around the kill, they usually also have enough cards to survive her, and often the damage in the remote doesn't matter either. And the extract, oh, it was such a good choice because the games you lose are often the games where you too broke, and the extract really helps. Um, so yeah, if you could find a way to put another extract in, uh, whether that be like cutting some of these operations or maybe one of the ice, I think that's probably a good idea. So maybe I went a little too low on the operation econ. Yeah, because being able to, if you're at, let's say, $7, but you have an extract, you're still threatening to do double measured response. You're still threatening to play that and then have enough money to play a big oppo on them. So the extract is like really good. And then we have the question: would you rather fight three beavers or one large dog? Um, damn, how large do beavers get? I they have those big teeth they could like bite me with too. But a large dog, they can get very large. So I would say like spontaneously, I would fight the three beavers because I feel like maybe I could just like kick them in the face before they got too close. I'm not sure. There's a big risk I would die in either of those cases, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, if there's no more questions on the corp, I mean, I'll still answer questions on the corp. I'll just go back to it, but I think I'll move on to the runner deck. Um, so the runner deck is this is um, this is a continuation of like I, I guess you could I call it a project. Like the last year, I basically had a project to try to create an ASOPs based lat that worked really well. Finally arrived at this list, and there were like a few iterations before then. This ended up being like a very big rig ASOPs lat, whereas earlier iterations were more lean on the rig. Um, and now, as Elevation was released, of course, ASOP rotated, but instead we got Knickknack. So this is like sort of the ASOP replacement. Um, and it's sort of challenging you to play a deck like that, but to be running more. Um, and so like this had a bunch of, uh, first of all, the card pool and the meta shifting had a bunch of implications that mean that you do different, that you make different choices. Like of course, because Cleaver was banned and because Turbine was banned, you couldn't really go for the same big rig anyway. So that's a big reason for the list to change, of course. Um, then the other thing is like, well, now you have Knickknack, so running is something that you want to be doing anyway. So you you're suddenly incentivized to play cards like Clean Getaway. Um, and yeah, so you have like the Knickknacks, the Clean Getaway, uh, and Overclock. That's also because like in the meta, just like the way it is right now, uh, I think mainly a Yuko, but probably some other decks too. They just have cards that say like you need to go and get this like right now or very soon. Like Fought in the case of a Yuko, it's just a card that if you don't get to it early, it just kind of snowballs. So having the ability to overclock with SMC, put in whatever breaker you need to get through the ice and trash it is pretty great. Um, then there's also Into the Depths, which is more like I mean, it's like a, it's at the very bottom. Um, I was talking to Brandon about this earlier today, but like, of course, the big downside of Into the Depths is you can only get value from it on a server that's actually iced. Um, so for that reason, it's a one-off because it takes a while before you can even really use this effectively. But it has a huge payoff once there's like two eyes on a server. Because normally you get like, I guess the maximum value you can get from it in this deck if you only get one trigger is the same value you get from a coalescence, which is you have, let's say you have two optimizers and a lily pad, like in a perfect world. You get the coalescence, it's free, so you get 4 credits and a card from the lily pad. Then later you're gonna trash it with Knickknack. So basically you got 6 cards and 2 credits. That's a lot. That's like the maximum value for one fire. But then of course the minimum I would say is like you get $3. But if you get both of these firing, that's like a lot of potential value. Then it can go up all the way to like um, even if you don't like, even if you don't have the full rig, the extreme version, let's say you don't have the DZMCs, like you're still making, even if you, let's say even if you don't have the Knickknack yet, you're getting $3 and then $2 more from this, and then potentially you can charge a coalescence if they somehow have 3 eyes. But the most common case is like they get to 2 eyes to protect their FOT or whatever, and then the ceiling of this card is very high. So yeah, it's just like insane bounce back to make it hard for the deck to be taxed in those cases. And I found this to be really cool actually. Um, yeah, so I guess peak double fire, you're getting 9 credits and 2 cards with, which is, I mean, just insane. Better than Bravado, basically. Um, but that's, yeah, that's a one-off because it's clunky to play. Um, what else? Um, what is Axis saying? Uh, yeah, Fam is playing loud, of course. Yeah, like I always need to try and see if this works. I just like how Lat just like puts cards on the board and then gets the free draw. It's like a nice flow of play where you just like play your cards and then you pounce at the right moment. Um, yeah, so about getting through the ice is that um, a lot of decks now have like tricky ice to counter whatever ice the runners are doing. Like there's Fly Swatter, which we only care about if we have Conduit out. Otherwise, it's like pretty easy to get through. White space is also pretty easy to get through with like Unity or whatever. There's a lot of Samak Samoon, and Propeller is like amazing to get through that. Um, and in this, we have both the lean ice, lean icebreakers in Revolver, Euler, and Propeller that like allow us to get through one ice one time very cheaply, at least one time. So that's a perfect target for like some kind of aggressive overclock play where you're trying to deny them from something early on. Perfect against like a Yuko if they're trying to protect like an important asset or whatever. Um, but we have the safety of our breakers actually also being good later in the game. The Rising Tide is eventually going to be really good because there's three propellers, so it's going to keep going, and the propellers kind of keep you safe for a long time against the big barriers. Basically, all the big barriers is like $3 for a propeller one time, and then you can throw them away with Knick-Knack or whatever, or keep them around for echelon strength, which is sometimes relevant. Um, and yeah, so the echelon gets really good if you need it to be. Like there was actually one game in the tournament where there were Cloud Eaters and the echelon was at 6 strength, so it could break each sub for just 1 credit, no need to boost, which is pretty efficient. Uh, Same with Unity, is like it's not buzzsaw efficient, but it's pretty efficient at the big ice. So there's some like lean solutions for the quicker decks, but like if you're up against a really slow deck, you can sort of sit and develop your board. Eventually, your breaker's going to be pretty good. You get a lot of money from the engine, the environmental testings. You have the into the depths, and you can also like sweep HQ at the right time if they've been sitting just like collecting value with Kakador or something like that for a long time. You can just sweep that hand at an opportune moment with Copulation, pick up some agendas. So it's often how you win against Glacier. So faster matchups is probably the hardest because your start with this deck might be clunky, just like the problem was with the Aesop Lab. Um, because like if you don't get Knick-Knack at the right moment, it's a problem. There's also some games where it's like you get an environmental testing, but you have trouble popping it before you get the right cards and so on. So sometimes you're not able to put enough pressure fast enough. Uh, but it's possible that you'll be able to. Sometimes you can also weather the storm, get through the early clunky turns, and then like sort of come back into the game. Happens sometimes. Like there was a game against Epiphany where I was sort of just sitting on my ass for a lot of turns to be able to finally pop some environmental testings and then finally get like a Hana Knick-Knack to start picking off the right assets and stuff. So yeah, making sure to not go aggressive earlier than you're able to. Um, and about multi-access, so there's the compilation, but there's also conduit that's like in the previous, like the quest completed list synergizes with the DCMCs, the Lilipad, the Simmel chips, and I find it can be a pretty good card to close out games, put pressure on R&D, and like yeah, just force them to sort of care about defending R&D. It can be quite scary nowadays to just leave R&D open and allow Conduit to collect a bunch of counters unless you have like, a Fly Swatter that you can put there. Mavericks is not as common anymore. I mean, it could be Fly Swatter. It could also be business as usual. Some decks are playing. It's not as common, but that's a bit annoying for Conduit. Um, but yeah, otherwise, like if the games go long, you just sort of like get a lot of value from your engine. You have Harmony AR therapy, because like you will eventually run out of cards, but Harmony AR therapy essentially says that if any game goes long, then you will you will probably have enough value to close it out, because this can get back like a lot of good cards for you. Like usually you get like Coalescence, Muse, Simul Chip, maybe a Sure Gamble and a Clean Getaway or something like that. Maybe an environmental testing sometimes, but depending on what cards you have left. And yeah, it's just like it makes the deck very resilient. Don't play more than one though, because it's going to clog your hand. But the nice thing about Harmony Air Therapy compared to some other recursion tools is that you can like play it before you actually run out of cards. So as soon as you have the right cards to shuffle back, you can play this to improve your draw over the coming turns. So it doesn't sit there and clog your hand, which is extra bad for Lat, who sometimes wants to like control hand size. Then of course like there's Nebula decks going around, other tagging decks going around, a lot of asset decks. My idea for the asset decks is that Knick-Knack plus Hannah should be enough. Also, the overclocks help. Clean Getaways also help, because that's a way to be able to contest without losing too much money. But I was asked why there's no Azimat in the list. And the problem is like a lot of the asset decks will like ice all their servers so that Azimat is not enough. But Azimat might still be good if you can get to the assets, but then like you're already using up 2 of your memory in a deck that's very uses memory as a resource a lot, so you easily run out of memory. And yeah, it's so it's hard to fit in your rig. Um, and also if you draw it at the wrong time, it might do nothing. So yeah, the Azimuth, I find it a bit tricky, because like the bigger challenge is often just getting through the ice in the first place, and if you do, you probably have the money to trash it. If they were just playing naked assets, Azimuth would probably be good, but I feel like in that case, Hannah and Knick-Knack should be enough. Then Hannah and Stoneship helps with the Nebulas of the world and all the kill decks of the world. You also have SMC and Simul Chip with Lilypad tricks to get you a draw. So if you end your turn with 5 and you have this plus Stoneship, you can get to 8 cards and survive double end of the line and stuff like that. But like just the SMC means with a Lilypad means you can survive a what's it called again? Touch-ups plus end of the line. So you have a few tricks like that to not die as easily. Although I still think Nebula can be a bit tricky of a matchup, because it can be hard to challenge early enough and often enough. But I think you have some game into it, so yeah. I agree with Axel that the RH game was cool. That was very tense. My my brain my brain was on fire. Uh, yeah, very tense, especially at the end. Um, Axis's Harmony is not a vibe. For me, I've learned to really appreciate this card, because there's a lot of games where I make use of it. More, I feel like maybe more than you'd think. Um, so at least in my experience, I felt that it means that basically I have enough gas. Was up to lazy. Uh, so yeah, so I like this deck. It's pretty reg. Oh yeah, I guess also against assets, compilation can actually help. Compilation can also like help get rid of the right kill pieces, tag pieces, combo pieces. Um, and you can also do that without risking getting oppoed. One of the, I mean, glaring cards that's like notable that it's absent from the list is pinhole threading. And if you've been watching on the channel previously, you know that I sort of don't like pinhole. I have like a hate boner for pinhole. Not really, but I often find that um, like this is clearly a meta where pinhole can be really, really useful. Um, but I struggle to put it in a list like this, especially when um, we have the Nebula matchup where the pinhole doesn't do anything at all, and I'm not Anarch. I can't just pitch it for some Audrey or whatever. It's just a dead draw, right? So that's a bit of an issue. And also, you're playing lat, so if you have cards that sit in your hand, it makes it hard to make use of lat. So like that's why pinhole is absent from the list. Um, but yeah, I'm not testing as much as I used to. I've tested a little bit into Ayuko, and it feels like the matchup might be okay enough without it. I feel like your breakers are pretty good into the ice. It's a matter of like, how can you deny the thoughts early enough and get your knick-knack rolling early enough, which is variance. So there used to be in this list, the price helped you get your pawn shop earlier. And if you already drew your pawn shop, then the price was just helping you do setup for other things. But one of the main perks of it is that it also meant that you had an easier time getting your pawn shop down. Now this list doesn't have that, so it has the weaknesses of the very early versions. Uh, so yeah, you are rolling the dice a little bit in that case. You can sometimes survive for a little bit without the knickknack, but like getting the knickknack reasonably early is quite important for the deck, and sometimes you can just get screwed that way. If you do get it pretty early, I find the games relatively smooth. Like often the games where I see knickknack, like in my starting hand, a lot of those games they just go really well. If you see it a bit late, it can be problematic. If you like never see it or see it way too late, then it's usually a disaster. Um, but yeah, that's basically the deck, and like I'm happy to have done well with it. And both of the decks, I guess. I didn't expect to do as well as I did in this event, but because especially the first two rounds I lost, and then I had to win like 7 out of 8 of the rest ones. And looking at those odds, you're like, oh man, like I probably can't do this. But then you know you just decide to you just decide that well I have to focus and do my best, and that worked this time. Um, Saw says, is the price no good here? Um, so the price would still be good to try to get the knickknacks earlier. So that could be like a really good reason to play it. Um, I feel like there are two reasons that I think it's not as good as it used to be. So one of those reasons is like you don't have turbine anymore, so that's one fewer card that fully benefits from it. I guess also breaker suite wise, yeah, even the breaker suite, there's fewer cards with 3 cost. Maybe not much of a difference, but like Boitata, Buzzhawk, and Cleaver, they were all 3 cost, whereas you only have two 3 cost breakers. So you have a bit fewer cards that cost 3. Now you have Knick-Knack that costs 2 instead of 1 with the ace up, but that doesn't make that big of a difference. Um, I still think you could make use of it, but another issue with it is like it used to be you had DJ as recursion, which could be installed with the price, but the price can also mill your recursion Harmony AR therapy. Um, and it used to mean that running out of deck was pretty good because you had DJ and your breakers were so efficient that you didn't need the cards as much to continue, and the cards you got from DJ was enough to seal the game. But now, like Aesop's gets you $3. Knickknack usually gets you $2 per trigger, but he also gives you a card. But like if you're out of cards in deck, then you're no longer getting that card. So I find that Knickknack, once you get like Knickknack, Lilypad, and Lat going, you want there to be a lot of cards left in deck that you can draw. Otherwise, you're sort of milling yourself to then shuffle everything back. So yeah, it might be that like um, you could make a version of this with the price that works. But I feel like, yeah, I see a lot of downsides with it compared to how it used to be. Um, so yeah, so I'm sort of just biting the bullet on the knickknack RNG. Like you can just get unlucky, not get your knickknack and be screwed, and that sort of, is what it is. Um, so you also ask why not just swap the text straight in? Could you be more specific? Um, did you? And Siat says no DJ hurt the price stocks. Yeah, that's for sure. No DJ, just fewer cards that benefit from the discount. Um, and yeah, yeah, and again, like the fact that Knickknack is drawing and so on. Meeting of Minds is a card that you think of sometimes, but then you realize it's really is pure desperation. But let's have a look at it. Um, I know you're trolling me, but but let's look at it anyway. Because I this is a card that I like seriously consider at times. Um, but yeah, like at if you actually get to a point where you're like considering putting this in, um, oh, the prize is the tech. Okay, I see. Um, no, I see what you're saying. I think you'd much rather the meeting of mice is just such bad value that you'd probably always be better off playing the price. Because like even if this somehow is good in the long term, because you get your knick-knack early enough, then you're gonna be even weaker early game than you already are. Like it's gonna be even clunkier. Uh, yeah, the memeing of minds. Um, oh, in it, Axis says it was legit good in the Seb Eternal deck, and I think I can buy that. I don't know exactly how, but I can imagine in Eternal, you it's much easier to make use of tribal effects because you have so many more actually useful connections. Um, but yeah, if you're so desperate to get the knickknack that you're playing this, then you probably should play the price. Or just more draw, like you could always try to play more Nuka to like desperately draw or ritual or whatever. But in this list, I'm more hoping that I'll get the knickknack, and then if you do, all the incidental drip that you have um, is going to get you a lot of card draw over time. Um, Also, because you have more breakers here, um, you are you're less reliant on going through your deck early because you're more likely to see some copy of your breakers um, earlier. So you can just like install these from hand a lot of the time rather than relying on SMC to get the perfect breaker out. Um, so that's partly why there's such a redundance of breakers. Partly it's like you want the flexibility of having a choice between multiple different breakers. The three propellers help because it means like if you usually want a propeller to break barriers early, um, but then if you also get an SMC, having the propeller means you've freed up that slot to get some other breaker that you need. And propeller is like, yeah, it's just like really good at breaking most of the barriers that you face right now. So I feel like that's a big perk of playing Shaper right now is like the Samak Samoons, the Botos, the Brands, that the propeller just gets through so neatly. Um, yeah, is there more to say about that? No, probably not. Like, I guess for a while I was thinking I was playing Mystic Mamie in this deck, um, because you had like the sure gambles and the clean getaways. You could like cut a Rising Tide or a Revolver or something, play the Mamies, but I think I'm pretty happy with the influence spend actually. Um, I don't really know what I would swap around. Maybe the second SMC is sort of a flex slot because if you really need SMC, Muse can often get it. Um, but yeah, um, I don't feel right now like I would change anything. I feel like right now I feel like this list is what it is, and like if you if you want to if you don't think it's good enough, then probably play something different. Uh, but I felt like it had some kind of answer in each matchup, even though sometimes it may be unfavored. Um, which is fun because like it feels like each matchup is really well an actual game, like an actual fight. Um, I think maybe this might be really bad into the super fast obelisks. I'm not quite sure. Haven't practiced it enough. One thing I was asked to try, I think it was not Yeti, was rejig, and I actually tried rejig instead of overclock. Because then like you can do more solitaire style setup where you don't need to overclock something to get money. You could just like rejig the coalescence, get more money that way. But I actually found it really clunky because more often than you think, especially early before you have all the cards, uh, you trash the coalescence with your knickknack before you get the rejig, and then it's like really awkward. So you're trying to sync them up so that you can rejig before the coalescence leaves or the muse or and so on. It might not be as clunky as I felt it was, but yeah, that was my issue with that. Um, but yeah, I think those are all my thoughts. Like, please let me know if you have any other questions about well the decks or anything in general about the tournament or life. I don't know. Um, yeah, because if not, I guess I'll be tapping out. But um, always fun to talk about some lists. It's been a long time. Um, yeah, since the last time. I will say I'm so happy I have a couple in this list. For the long grinding matchups, especially Glacier, it's so nice. Axel is asking for ban list thoughts. Um, so my general feeling right now, ban list wise, and I feel like, well, I have been playing a lot more recently, so I don't feel like I'm totally out of tune with the meta. I might not like know exactly how every matchup goes and stuff like that. Um, but right now, the game doesn't feel terribly imbalanced. That's just vibes. Like I don't have enough data to go off. I know that corp rates jumped way up for like after the ban list. I think that makes a lot of sense. But right now, I feel like maybe runners have adjusted enough to the changes that it might be sort of even again. As yeah, that's just my gut feeling. So it feels like maybe the ban list was like really cool in the way that it like did just enough for things to kind of stay interesting, but also sort of balanced. So I would honestly like right now my feeling is that the ban list will just say no changes. Um, I honestly don't know what they would do to what they would want to change. Because the thing about the meta right now, so I don't, again, it doesn't feel super imbalanced. My only issue is like I don't really enjoy a lot of the corps that I'm playing against. Um, I feel like to me, Fat is like a really frustrating card. It's just like they put it in a remote, you have to go get it basically right away, or you fall behind. I don't think that's super fun. It just feels like, yeah, your early turn draw matters so much, and what you're able to do early. If you trash it, if they happen to draw another copy, then that can also be detrimental. So it's like, yeah, I don't super love it. And Nebula is also like incredibly uninteresting to me in the way that like it doesn't really feel interactive. Like a lot of the time it's like did they just draw the agenda at the right time or not? When you're running HQ, you often don't know if they drew the agenda yet or not, and whether or not flipping them matters. So the whole no remote game plan is like, yeah, it's very like unsatisfying for me game wise. But balance wise, um, it seems pretty fine right now. So yeah, that's what I would say. Probably no bans. Um, I don't think runners need more cards banned. If it turns out that runner is like too weak, maybe they unban some runner card, like Creative Commission or Moshing, but I don't think they will. And same on the corp side, like there might be some cards that are really strong, but I don't think they're gonna feel like they're so strong that they need to be banned. Yeah. Uh, Axis says all the corps are just kind of cringe. Yeah, yeah. It's it's it is enjoyable now. I feel like just playing the game sometimes. I don't know. Like the the tournament was still enjoyable. There's something about the the tension in the game, the stakes. It was fun, but yeah, I pretty don't like the play styles. So yeah, I feel they're kind of cringe too. Um, I was very optimistic when Elevation came in, but um, I liked a lot of the things that it changed. But yeah, the play styles it is encouraging. I don't really like it. Yeah, so that is what it is. But they're not gonna unban DreamNet or moshing. Um, but like I guess moshing might be, but I don't think so. Given yeah, it just seems that runners are probably doing well enough. Um, from a Anarch player perspective, or someone who has played a lot of Anarch previously, and now I guess I'm sort of in the Shaper trenches. Um, Moshing feels great to have in your deck, and an issue right now when deck building Anarch. I mean, as a player, it feels like an issue. It's maybe not an issue for the game. Is you used to have bank art to like make use of strike funds and steel skins even if there was no damage in your opponent's deck. But now you sort of have to play Audrey, like you're not going to play card anymore. So now you have to play Audrey or the prize or maybe mill them with Lago for it to make sense. But with yeah, you don't have that moshing that just like trashes those and gets value from them. So it would be a way for you to put the strike funds and the steel skins in reg decks. Um, but that's just from like what what feels nice to play. But it also, as a player, doesn't feel very nice when your opponent moshings and trashes like two strike funds and a steel skin. It just feels kind of OP. So yeah, it is probably gonna stay banned. Um, yeah, and as Lazy said, Nev games do just feel like RNG. Do you get it on your touches or do they get it on their draw? Yeah, I mean, it's often like, oh, how long can a little bit vibe space, but you try to wait long enough before you push so that you don't get taxed out. At the same time, you need to have the tech to survive their kill threats. But like, yeah, the whole sitting on centrals and on beholds and scoring the false leads in an basically uninteractive way. Um, yeah, I don't like that they threaten fast advance so easily. I don't think that's a fun play style. Um, like when you were playing Titan, at least you had to like either combo with Dedication Rococo, so you needed like a 2-card combo, or you needed Biotic, which cost you 7 credits to score, or you were Audacying to trash your entire hand. Uh, the whole like I played an operation, so now I'm threatening to fast advance. Yeah, it doesn't vibe with me. I feel like it should be a little harder to fast advance stuff so that we get the remote play. I'd I prefer it to be like a side thing rather than like the full plan. Full game plan is fast advance. I mean, I guess for Nebula you can fast advance a little bit, and if you get to like um, 2 false leads, you can get to a point where you can just score an agenda off the board. But yeah, um, um, but yeah, the main plan is the fast advancing. Um, I like it a bit more when fast advancing is more expensive. Um, but I guess that is it for this stream. If there aren't other questions, I'll chill for a minute or so and let people ask more if they want. But otherwise, thank you for watching. This was fun. I don't know when if I'm gonna be back. I do have ideas for things I could play on stream. Um, so that might be a thing in the future. But it's probably gonna be spontaneous. So we'll see. But of course, I'll post it on the channel then. Um, and I will be at Worlds, so I guess some amount of preparation I will do. Yeah, thank you, Vlad, for watching. Um, yeah. Well, I'll wrap it up. See you all around. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.